Welcome back to my YouTube channel. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much. To my new subscribers, welcome. And if this is your first time to watch my videos, kindly consider to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Lenamso Official. This is so on this channel, I always vlog about my real life experience, where I have come from, where I am right now, and where I am heading to, because I always believe that my yesterday is not my today, and my today is not my tomorrow, and I believe that my tomorrow is better than my today. So on the last episode, I discussed on how I became a Kemboi in Bahrain, but it was not that easy because my family back in Kenya had already sent me flight money. So since according to the situation that I was in, that means I wouldn't have exited from Bahrain. So I was left with no option but to use the money and pay the accommodation and at least do a few stuffs. So that is what I did. The Kenyan guy connected me with a Kenyan lady who helped me to look for an accommodation, and when I started staying in that accommodation, I learned a few things from them, and immediately I got into that accommodation. I remember they told me that they never admit Kenyans in the accommodation. The reason being, they said that Kenyans they were practicing prostitution. They also complained that Kenyans they liked fighting. They also complained that Kenyans they like scandals too much. So they said, according to what they saw in me, it is like I was a different Kenyan. I was not like other Kenyans. So that is the reason as to why they admitted me in the accommodation. But when they told me about Kenyans, there's one thing that I learned. I told myself that I'll not be the same as other Kenyans. If that is what Kenyans do, I promised myself that I'll not do that. If Kenyans they like fighting, I promised myself that I will try my level best to avoid fighting. If they believe that Kenyans they always give their body so that they can earn some money, I promised myself that I will never do that. That is to secure Kenyan's name. So we stayed with them for around 1 month. Still I was looking for a job, but unfortunately getting a job, it was not that easy, because even at work looking for a job, they would ask me they would ask me about my nationality, and I would tell them that I'm a Kenyan, but they would just say no, we don't want Kenyans. Reason being, Kenyans they like fighting. So I felt it is like they were against Kenyans because of that reason. And getting a job, actually, it was not that easy. It was not an easy thing. And after the end of this 1 month, it reached a point whereby I have to pay my rent and I don't have any money with me. So we used to chat with these ladies whom I was living with, and they always advised me, Lena, why don't you look for a boyfriend? That is someone who can just take care of you, who can pay your bills. And at first I felt it was not a good thing, but it reached a point whereby I decided, since I have no option left, I just decided it is better I just look for a boyfriend who could just have taken care of me. And I remember I used to crack jokes with them, and I used to tell them, if I will get a boyfriend who can pay my ticket back to Kenya, I will agree to be in a relationship with that guy. But now they always laughed at me, and they would ask me, how do you expect a man to come and pay your flight to go back to your country? So to them it seemed to be so impossible. So these friends of mine, these my roommates, they always kept telling me about the advantages of having a boyfriend in Bahrain. They always gave me those advantages, but I knew it was not a good thing. But according to the situation that I was in, I felt that was the only way out. But knowing that it was not the right thing, I believed that maybe that was the only option and that was the only way out, because you have to pay your rent. You don't have any money with you, so you have to pay the rent. You have to eat. You have to drink. You have a lot of bills to pay, and you are not working. And So at least in one way or the other, you have to find for a solution. And there is this one Kenyan guy whom I came across with, and this Kenyan guy, he asked me to go to his place. And that day he was supposed to come and pick me and take me to his place. But I remember that day when he told me that, I sat down and I asked God, is this the right thing that I'm doing? Am I doing the right thing? Because according to me, I felt it was not good. But according to the situation that I was in, that was the only way out. But unfortunately, that day, the date did not go through. The guy told me that he had gotten a friend, and his friend had brought his girlfriend into his place. So he said he couldn't come for me. And I really thanked God, even though I needed money, but I thanked God at least I never found myself into that temptation. I thought it was the end of it all, but it wasn't, because a few days after that, the same guy called me and he said that he wanted me to go and spend the night with him. And I was left with no option that day. According to the situation that I was in, I just had to admit. And I told this guy, it's okay. You just come and pick me at this time. So, when it was almost that time, I went to take shower. And when I was in the washroom, I remember there was this two fight between my body and my soul. So the body was saying, this is the only thing that you have to do. You have to go and spend the night with this guy so that you can get some money. And the soul was there telling me, don't do this thing. You are not doing the right thing. Just wait upon the Lord. But no, there was this confusion between these two, the body and the soul. So I used to listen to these two, and I could feel that the body is somehow because the body was challenging the soul, and the body was telling the soul, now, despite all the things, you have to pay your bills. You have no option left. So that is the only thing that you have to do. And the soul was there convincing the body, this is not the right thing that you have to do. But I remember in that washroom, I really started crying. I cried and I told God, is this the only thing that you have seen that I can do? Just because I have to pay my rent and I don't have money. Is this the only thing that I have to do? Do I have to go and spend the night with this guy so that I can earn that money? And I really cried bitterly. But there's one thing that I reminded God. I told God, I know you never rush and you never come late. You always come at the right time. So I told God, if you are really God, and I really trust and believe in you. Remember, I had promised myself never to give never to give myself out just for money. Even if I was to do so, I had decided that I was to do so just because of mutual feeling, but not for exchange of money, because I believe it is not a good thing. So I cried and I told God, I started begging God not to let it happen. Now there I am stranded between these two. I am stranded to follow the man or just to remain and die with my own problems. Now I reached a point and I started telling God, if I really serve you, don't let this be. If I really trust and believe in you, don't let this thing happen. I remember in that washroom, I cried bitterly. And I told God, I know you can see the situation that I am in. Can you just please come and intervene? And I just prayed in the washroom. I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I told God, if you want my relationship between me and you to continue, you have to save me from this. Because I always believed, I don't know what God had put in me that time, but I always felt like by doing some things, I would just be spoiling, not me, but I would be spoiling the one who is in me. So I felt like when I do that, I would just have ruined my relationship with God. So I had to tell God, You have to let this relationship between me and you to continue. And for it to continue, you have to save me from the hands of this man. And I cried in the washroom. But the most surprising thing, and the the most thing that surprised me up to date, it always surprises me, is that by the time I was coming from the washroom, getting to the room to go and change, I don't know what happened, but I just started breathing. And when I started breathing, something told me God has done this just to keep you away from that man, and so that you cannot go and do that. And I took my phone and I texted the guy. I told him that I was on my period, so I was not in a position to go and spend the night with him. But the most now funniest thing is that once I texted this man, I expected him to reply back and ask me, why is it that I have started receiving my periods just when he's about to come for me? So I expected such questions from him. But the most surprising thing is that when God starts leading you in his own ways, you can never understand. And what God does is things no man can understand. That is one thing that I came to learn. Because this man, instead of asking me such a question, he instead told me, he texted me back and he told me one thing that he promised himself: he will never sleep with a lady who is on her periods or sleep with a lady who is drunk. So I texted him back and I asked him, so what? And the guy told me, I will just come, give you some money, and in case you need anything, you just let me know. And the most funniest thing, that guy came, he brought me some money, and he brought me some snacks. Now immediately he gave me that money, I went back to the room and I started thanking God. And I always have this habit of, when God does something to me, I like testifying. So when I got into the room, I started testifying to one Ghanaian lady who was my very good friend. I started testifying to her, and she was like, how comes that a man has given you all this money without doing anything with him, without even you doing anything to him? Even to her, she told me that she has lived in Bahrain for 5 years, but she has never seen a man giving such money to somebody just like that, just for free. So to me, that was something that I was to thank God of, and I thank God because he saved me from the hands of the first man. And at least God saved me from this temptation. Actually, it was not an easy thing to go about it, but I always thank God because he made me realize that it is only God. If we only trust and believe in God, he will always save us and he will always rescue us. So that is how I got the money to pay my second month rent without no problems. And I always thank God because this man, even he brought me food. I didn't have anything to eat that day, but in God's miraculous way, God fulfilled his accomplishment in me, and he ensured that I was good and I was saved. So that was my first temptation as a Kemboi, and it was just among many others that came on my way. And there is another temptation that came after that. What do you think? Did I fall into the second temptation? Because definitely we are human beings. We will always find ourselves falling into temptations. What about the following temptation that came to me? Did I fall into it? Keep tuned. Continue subscribing, notification bell, so that you can get notified each and every time I upload my videos. See you next time.